Hello, good morning. Welcome to this MagiCAD for Revit MEP webinar. Today's topic is looking at creating schematics within the Revit environment itself and using the MagiCAD schematics module, how we can actually create a advanced use of schematics in Revit for linking to the model components and sharing parameters between the schematics and the model itself. So let's look at how we can do that today. You should see on the screen now that on the left hand side we have a typical type ventilation schematic with a handling unit and some supply and extract, or in Revit terms return ductwork shown in pink and blue, and you'll see that runs out to these air terminals, just like any sort of typical ventilation schematic really. It's a bit simplified for this demonstration, but it has all the main components of the vent schematic really. And you'll see that that represents, for example, the system here. So we've got a supply and extract system in this building in the model on the right hand side, and the terminals go into the rooms here, just like represented on the schematic. But what we're going to show today is how we can actually use the MagiCAD tool to create this schematic, sort of from a drafting point of view really, and then assigning parameters to the schematic components, and then how we can automatically update the parameters either from the model to the schematic or from the schematic to the model. So let's look at how we can just very quickly draw this schematic really, and how it's created. It's a similar idea to traditional AutoCAD, but it's not AutoCAD. There's some obviously very nice functions in AutoCAD that don't exist in Revit, but we've provided a lot more advanced functionality for symbols and drawing of the interconnecting lines and things like that, to give you sort of head start over Revit out of the box, to save you a lot of time having to create your own symbols, etc. And we can also pre-configure parameters that sit within these symbols. When you load them into the schematic, they'll have the parameters ready to go, so you can just, and then that can just match the parameter mapping instantly. So if you configure it all properly, you can really save a lot of time. So let's have a look at how we can create some additions to this schematic, maybe, so you can see how I've done this in the past. So on the palette on the left hand side, you'll see it's a MagiCAD tool palette. You'll see we've got various ducts, pipes and wire line types. These are all configurable by yourself. These are just some that I've got in there already, and you can automatically set these to be with supply air, return air, different line types, how you want to do it really. It's perfectly up to you. And then below that you've got other tab categories as well: electrical, piping and vent. Again, you can configure these exactly how you want. Just so happens that's the way I've done it. And then in here there's subheadings which you can configure yourself. I'll show you all this in a minute. And then you can add your own symbols into all these, and it can be symbols from our library, or it can be symbols that you create yourself. So it's completely wide open in terms of user-defined symbols, user-defined functionality, categories, so you can customize it exactly how you wish to use it. So for example, just following the theme here, if I wanted to draw some air terminal, click on the palette there, and there's my symbol, and you can see it just drops into the schematic like that. And then I want to draw some duct lines going to it, so I might choose this line here. You can choose a property, say, I don't know, it could be a return duct like that, and then we'll just snap to there, and we actually put these snaps on our symbols as well to help you. And you can see there, that's sort of how easy that is to draw up there. So you just continue around like that. And if you want to draw, say, more ductwork off there, you can. And by the way, the colouring of this is just controlled by filters based on the properties of the duct, which is just this return system code there. And then you can just always drag these into, like that. Or if that was short of their then you can use the trim command in Revit and just trim that together and extend that. So it's quite easy to do. So I'll just sort of show you how easy that is to draw with, really. And then the symbols, how do we get these into the palette? Well, what we do is go into the data set, and in here you'll see there's a schematics category here, and you'll see that we have in this schematics category, you'll have the what I've defined as electrical pipe vent. Again, you can create your own category in there, not a problem. So this is all user definable. And then once you're in there, you can create your own subheadings. So there's data devices for electrical, fire alarm devices. And then you want to create a category for this symbol. All you do is create a new symbol there. You can add your parameters, like I was saying before, so you can even default values into those as well. So if you had a default, if that was always on a system code called, PIR or sounders or something like that, or fire alarm, then that would be defaulted as a value in there. And you can choose a symbol from here by going to select and then choosing as normal from the MagiCAD symbol library, which you assign to that particular symbol. So it's all quite straightforward. So for air terminals, here we go. There's some air terminals. That's the one that I put into the project from before. On the left hand side, you can see it's in the palette. And then in here, you can see that we have some details surrounding that. If I wanted to put some parameters in, I could add whatever you want to put in there. System code, it could be flow, it's a default flow in whatever parameter you want to put in there from that list. And if you want to choose a symbol, you can, so you can choose a different symbol altogether. And if I had some user-defined symbols, I can put them in there. So it's all quite straightforward, and as soon as you add that symbol, it will appear in that palette. So as I just alluded to there, you can create your own symbols. So here's one I've created earlier. You can see here it's just made up of some detail lines. All I've done is just drawn this. You can see there it's just a detail line symbol. And what MagiCAD enables you to do very easily is convert this into a symbol for the symbol library for the schematics, which will then become a detail item later. So all you do is click Create User Symbol, drag a window across that, and then choose a base point, a center, and there you can see it rips that out of there. Put it into schematic symbol category, choose a series, which I'm going to put user, and then under ventilation there, and I'm going to call it terminal 1 or something like that, then press OK. And that now becomes a symbol. So if I go into my data set now, if I wanted to choose a new symbol for extract or supply maybe, or I can just go into this SG01. I don't want that one anymore, I want my own, so press select, and if I go into my user, there's my air terminal that I just created. Yeah, press OK, and you can see that now becomes a symbol in there. So that's quite simple to do, and that becomes a symbol that I can now use in my ventilation, and you can see it's there. If I click on that, then it creates that. And you can see now I've converted that symbol into this. So on the left is the original detail lines, on the right is now my actual symbol, which can now have parameters assigned to it that's in that palette. So that's as easy as it gets. So yeah, that's a really nice feature of this tool. So okay, so we looked at sort of drawing and creating the actual schematic and the symbols, etc. So let's have a look at how we can actually link the model to the schematic itself. So you can see here I've got a set of extract grills here with predefined reference numbers, so that they're in the schematic. It's e.g. 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. In the actual model, they're blank. There's no numbers in there because I haven't done it yet. So what I'm going to demonstrate there is pushing parameters from the schematic into the model. And conversely, I've got some references for my supply grills here in these rooms. But again, on my schematic, they're blank. So you can see it's just vice versa. It's just the opposite way around. But effectively, we're doing the same thing. We're pushing parameters from model to schematic or schematic to model. And you'll also notice that I've also tagged some of the ducts in here. This is the really time-consuming part of drawing schematics traditionally when they're not linked in this way, is manually typing out all these references, making mistakes. Of course, it's not just time consuming, it's also there's a risk of mistakes, and also all these kind of details, like for example when you're doing ductwork or pipe work, all these details that you have to manually plug in and type out on the schematic itself will be automatically generated, and any changes you can just update it and pick it up. So first of all, I'm going to show you the process of how you actually synchronize one way or the other, and then I'll go back and show you how how that was done in terms of the parameter mapping, and then I'll show you how to link a few objects and then update the project and see the figures update as well. So let's go into the schematics module, and you'll see here there's a schematics function here called synchronize parameters. In here you can see that when you click that, you can either select the objects that you want to synchronize, or you can select individual or draw window. You can do the whole view or the whole project. So for this I'm just going to do current view, but saying that I might actually do it in the schematics, it might pick up, say, other mechanical equipment that are mapping in there as well. So on the left hand side, if I do synchronize parameters, you'll know for sure that if you do current view, it's only the objects that are in this view. And incidentally, you can see in this view, these ones have turned red, and that's because they are linked. So there's actually a parameter. So as soon as you link objects between views, they will turn red, or however you set it up in the filter in that view. So for you, it's very clear as to what is mapped and what is not mapped, or linked, I should say, into the model, or vice versa. So let's hit current view like this. It will read every object that's linked, and you'll get a preview saying what's going to happen. So you can see here that we've got this set of parameters here that are going to be changed. So just press accept changes, and you'll see that we have updated these. It's pushed that into the figures from the schematic into there. So how do I do that? If I look at map parameters, this is the function that drives all this. You'll see that in here we have this ability to define the parameters in here. So supply air device, you'll see that it actually looks for the model category of this R1, which is running index, and then you can see the direction. It pushes it from the model into the schematic, and then pushes that into the schematic as that variable or that parameter in there. So all you do is predefine this mapping list. So for example, this the extract grills in here, if I go to add a parameter map, let's say in here, all I do is add this. Wait a second, while it's thinking about it. I add this extract air device, and then I predefine the parameters that I wish to be populated. So if I choose this running index in here, this filter will provide me with that. So I pop that down there. You can see running index 1, and then I know that it's this variable in the schematic. And what you can do, you can choose the direction. So this is pushing it now. If I click there, it's pushing it from the schematic into the model itself. You can see data direction, it says there. Then press accept, and then save that mapping and press close. And then if I go to synchronize parameters and then current view, you can see now that all those figures are now going to be mapped in. So press accept changes, and you can see it's now mapped all the schematic values into the model, and all the extract rails have now updated. So it's quite straightforward, and all you do is provide your company with, or your project with the correct mapping for all the parameters at the outset, and then that mapping file can be unique to that project, and then you just use it as and when you require it, or update it, etc. So as I mentioned before as well, I've linked this duct segment here to this detail line in the schematic there, and you can see it inherited the data from there. But this one hasn't. It stayed blank because you can see it's not mapped. It hasn't turned red in here. So I was going to show you how to physically link the two items together. So if I click Create Link, I choose the detail line in the schematic, and now it's looking for something else in this view. So I then choose a new, so I think it's this one, wouldn't it, between the, so it's there. So I choose a link. So there's my link created. If I click on this now, if I go to schematics and then zoom to link object, it should zoom to, oops, sorry, I've just deleted that link by accident, so I'll do that again. Yeah, there we go. So if I now go to zoom to link object, I can click on this here and it will zoom to the link object in the actual model there, so you can see exactly what's linked. So now I've created that link. All I need to do now is run that update tool again, and then it'll update that particular parameter in there. So if I just go to synchronize parameters and then go to this time do current view here, press accept, you can see it now updates that. And if I just tag that there, you can see that all the details in there are the same as the details in there. So that's worked very nicely. But at this stage, maybe yeah, you've already labelled it all up, and this is the time-consuming part of drawing schematics. You've gone through the whole process of drawing like hundreds or thousands of these labels in a traditional AutoCAD schematic manually, and then all of a sudden, you know, there's some design change, and then the engineer needs to update something, and you have to go through and then change like several hundred of them again, because all the flow rates have all changed in the duct sizes. So let me give an example. If I go to ventilation sizing function in MagiCAD here, and then I'll just, don't worry about this, it's a different webinar to show you how this all works, but you just take it for granted this is how this works. I'll just resize the ductwork in this project. What will happen is, as a result of changing the design, you'll see that ductwork all changes. Clearly, all the properties of all the ducts will change in this network as well. So they'll be out of sync. So like I said, this is the time-consuming bit of schematics where that duct segment now has the same flow rate, but I've resized it, and now the diameter's changed, the pressure drops changed, velocity's all changed. Traditionally, you'd have to go in there and then change hundreds and hundreds of ducts, and then you might make mistakes, etc., etc. But the whole point of this is one source of information that feeds all the other information that you wish to derive from it. So all I do now is go back into my schematics, synchronize parameters, current view, and anything that's changed will be updated. Press OK, and you can now see that my schematic now matches my project, my model. So there you go. So it's that easy to run the updates, and that's where the real value in this this module, this schematics module, really comes in. So it's not just the drawing, which we provide you there on the left-hand side, or with all the tool palette and predefined parameters. So, and it's the linking between the two, and then the updating as well, which is really, really time-consuming traditionally. But with this, it should make your process a lot quicker, and also you're mitigating risk massively by having one source of information which automatically updates. So that's the at the end of this webinar. So thanks very much for your attention today. I hope that was useful. If you wish to obtain any further information about this or the MagiCAD product, here's all the usual sources which you can go to discover more. And for those in the UK where I'm based, If you wish to contact us, the information's on the screen now, and you can see you can contact sales and we can arrange a demonstration or provide further information for you. So thanks very much for your time, and I'll see you on the next webinar. Thank you.